Hello, and welcome to my presentation on online assessment tools. My name is Antoinette Bradley. I am a CMU doctoral student, and this presentation is in fulfillment of the EDU 842 Mobile Learning. So let us begin by defining exactly what is online assessment. It is the process of documenting student learning outcomes. And here we have a list of a variety of methods, but commonly to educators, there are two types of assessments that are used for student learning. We have the formative assessments and the summative assessments. In the digital realm, that would be discussion posts where students are collaborating and discussing with each other, digital quizzes, reflective journals, self-assessment, simulations and animations. Within the summative realm, a digital portfolio, project, a presentation such as this one, a case study, or even a digital midterm or final exam assessment. The advantages of using an online assessment are the use of a question bank for a customization of the assessment to the needs and abilities of students as we are scaffolding their learning. The accessibility of the assessment on multiple devices such as a tablet, a laptop, or a cell phone device. The assessment is interactive, where the assessment doesn't necessarily have to be multiple choice, true or false, where boxes are checked or bubbles are shaded in. Students can draw to show their performance in their learning, or even using creative tools such as video. The feedback to students is faster, where the turnaround time is almost immediate depending on how the assessment is set up. Students do not have to wait for assessments to be collected as a class, and then the teacher reviews, assesses through a rubric, and then they are returned. And lastly, one of the advantages is the learning analytics that are provided to support a teacher while providing that instructional support to their students. So let's take a look at the tool that we are going to investigate for online assessment. It is called Formative. Formative is a web-based student response and assessment tool. So some functions, and when I'm looking at functions, I'm going to look at the capacity of the tool, integration, design, and usability. So communication is two-way in that teachers provide opportunities for students to demonstrate their learning. Based on those decisions, students can show what they have learned and receive feedback in the form of a right or wrong answer, digital feedback, or audio feedback from their teachers. Formative integrates with several learning management systems and school information systems, allowing immediate access to student learning outcome results. The systems shown here are examples of popular ones used in K-12 education, such as Google Classroom, the Google Workplace, Google Docs, the Google Drive, Slides, Office 365, Canvas, Infinite Campus, Skyward, Clever, where students are able to keep track of their logins on various systems, and Schoology as a learning management system. Any content can be assessed using Formative to support student learning in the K-12 realm, or even in the higher education realm if a professor chooses to use this. Teachers can use it as an exit ticket, a quick check for understanding. It can be used to assume that it can be used to ensure that students understand concepts, or they're even able to perform a specific skill set, such as writing or drawing their responses. Formative is user-friendly for teachers in their design of assessments, in that there are many choices for assessing students. Teachers can also verify how the assessment will look on a device before administering the assessment. Let's take a moment and take a look at Formative. I'm going to go back a couple of slides. And let's look at formative now. So this is your screen when you log into formative. You have the ability to set up classes where it's linked with Google Classroom or Clever, where it will pull from a school's information system. Or you can manually set up your own classes here. You have the ability, when you are creating formatives, you can pull from the library and choose a formative and manipulate that appropriately for your course. Or you can create your own. I have folders set up to organize them by my classes, for example, here. And when creating a new formative, I enter the name of my title here. And then when I click on this plus sign, it gives me choices for content and questions. And as you can see, I can embed code or video, whiteboard for drawing, text boxes. I can choose my questions, such as having my students write a reflection, which will be appropriate for an essay, multiple choice. If the response requires more than one answer, showing their work. I can also upload, which I'm going to show you in just a moment, whether it is a PDF or a Google Doc for my students to assess. So here's an example of an exit ticket that I created. And so with this exit ticket, if I come over here, I have some choices. I've chosen to create this as an exit ticket and keep track of it. I can customize the colors of my header, make copies. If I want to send the results back to my Google Classroom, that's something that I can do. Move it to another one. I can even print if I want to. When I send this to my students, I can project this on my board. I can send them the link, give them this code. I can even embed it in my learning management system or send it to my classroom, or just quickly send my students a link on whatever device. Here, clicking on the eye, I have the ability to see what this looks like. And this image is of a computer. Here's what it looks like on a tablet in a reduced format, and an even more reduced format, what it looks like on a cell phone if my student is using that device. I can go here again and assign. I can set some limits, and the stars here represent the premium. Currently, I am in a free version of formative, but when purchased, I have additional options that are available to me. And here's an important piece with learning analytics. So this is where I can review the responses of my students. I can show or hide student names. I can export it. I can sort it. Totals, it will show me my results. And because this is an exit ticket, I can see the responses, how many students got it. I can also see if my students, specifically by name, which students said that they got it, in this case, as we are assessing how they're doing here. And here I can look at what my students said. And so it gives me very similar to tools where I am using a post-it note format where they can tell me their thoughts. It's very good where I can assess quickly what my students noticed, and then I can adjust instruction on the next day in the form of an exit ticket. Here's an example in this one. This is a lesson where students were being taught how to create a business letter. And so in this particular format, students are identifying the parts of the letter by number. And so looking at this, I can see what my students see on a phone, on a tablet, and what it looks like on the computer for them as they are entering their results. And in my responses, I can use that same note type of format. I can also see what the responses were for each individual student. I can also go to totals, and I can quickly see with this color-coded traffic light format where students struggle. So 60% of my students They weren't so good with that 2-inch margin at the top of the screen. And my students struggled here, where only 31% of them were correct here. And so in this lesson, there are a few things I need to go back and work on with my students. Lastly, here's an option that we're used to with multiple choice, where students are able to make their decisions based on a quiz. And again, I can see how things are going and how they're doing with those questions as well here. So moving back into our presentation, we're going to move forward now after that brief explanation and look at theories and frameworks. I looked at several different frameworks here. I looked at TPAC, I looked at Keller's ARC's model of motivation, Puentadora's SAMR, Hughes's RAT model, the Florida Center for Institute Technology, the Technology Integration Matrix, the SHE Mobile Learning Model, as well as Kimmons PIC-RAT Matrix, Kuhl's Frame, Smith's 3E framework, and Kolb's Triple E framework. The two that really stood out to me were the 3E framework and the Triple E framework. However, ARCs and Frame were also very closely related to formative and how it could be used. And so in specifically looking at these, the 3E and the Triple R frameworks were very similar in their descriptions. Formative allows students to actively participate in their learning and focus on the activity at hand. Because it is technology and students get instant feedback, they're more motivated to engage in the task of the assessment. Scaffolding takes place in the form of using a question bank as well as visuals or voice when creating assessments for learning. In addition, when students can draw and use other tools to show their assessment and enhance their learning. Students can assess at any time and any place. However, collaboration is lacking based on all three of the frameworks. Kuhl discusses the social aspect. Students cannot collaborate on the assessment unless they collaborate in another tool and then upload the assessment. So let's look at the problem of the practice here. So what I'd like to know from you in seeking your thoughts using a poll everywhere, as you can see, this is how you can reach my brainstorming poll. And I'm looking at how can online assessment tools meet the social aspect of enhancing or extending in learning. This poll can be done on a tablet, a computer, or a mobile device. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our explanation of online assessment tools in learning. I look forward to hearing from you and your thoughts.